right, so I'm going to do a quick comparison of Norton's LifeLock and IdentityForce, two identity theft protection services that you're sure to come across if you're looking into getting covered. Norton's LifeLock is probably the most well-known, most renowned identity theft protection service out there, which is interesting to me, and we'll get to that in a bit. And IdentityForce is TransUnion's solution, but that they put out for people like you and me looking to protect themselves online. So I'm going to take a look at how these two identity theft protection services compare when it comes to monitoring, whether that's your personal information, credit monitoring, or transaction monitoring. I'm also going to look at how these companies stack up in terms of threat resolution, how well they're there for you when things go bad, when you're having a rough day. And finally, I'll look at how these two companies stack up in terms of price. And right off the bat, I just want to say, I've used 6 of these identity theft protection services, and I am kind of shocked for a company that has so much clout in the industry. I'm talking about LifeLock here. How sort of poorly they stack up to the competition. Their monitoring leaves a lot to be desired, and to really get the level of monitoring that you can get with some other companies, you definitely have to pay more. And even when you do that, the support that you're getting from their resolution team leaves a lot to be desired. And we'll talk about that in a bit more detail shortly here. Identity Force, on the other hand, I think definitely better than LifeLock, definitely more thorough monitoring. I think that Identity Force can definitely be a good way to go, great service from them. However, there are better options out there. And these days, I'm definitely, without a doubt, my favorite is Aura. So I would say if you haven't checked them out, I would check out Aura. If you're just deciding between LifeLock and Identity Force, go with Identity Force, no question. But you might also want to look into Aura. Whichever one you do choose, LifeLock or Identity Force, check out my links in the description of this video before you sign up. If I have any discounts, which I know that I do for LifeLock at least, if you click on that link in the description of this video, they'll be applied automatically and you'll be good to go. And in particular, if you do look into Aura and you think that's a good choice, you can get up to 50% off your plan here. And it really makes it kind of a no-brainer when you look at all that's offered and that incredible deal that you get with my link in the description there. So with all that said, let's dive into LifeLock and Identity Force and see a bit more about what's going on under the hood. For the purposes of this video, I am going to be comparing LifeLock's individual advantage plan to Identity Force's individual ultra secure plan. And you can see that they're very nearly identical in price here. I would say identical in price here. And we'll come back to this in a bit more detail later on, with the exception of the fact that after your first year, LifeLock renews at a higher price. But I think reviewing them at these tier makes for an apples to apples comparison price wise. So let's go with that. So we'll start with personal identification monitoring. I think that's the most important aspect of any identity theft protection service out there. So how these services work is you input the information that you want the service to monitor, and it scans the dark web, it scans forums, it scans chat rooms, places like that, for occurrences where your account information has been leaked. And when it finds that information, you get an alert. And here's some live ones on LifeLock right now. This one is just a password verification. That's not a leak, but this one is a leak. So we can see right here. And basically, this was an exposure of my data related to Twitter accounts that happened in January 2023. So I did get a very similar alert from Identity Force here. I've just already cleared it, but that's what they look like. The main discrepancy here is that of all of the identity theft protection services I've used, LifeLock returns the least dark web hits, and they only find hits associated with one of my email addresses, where most of the others find breaches associated with 2 of my email addresses and quite a bit more. So we have 1 with Twitter, we have 7 here. And then this was an identity verification. This is nothing. So LifeLock found 8 instances where my account information was leaked, whereas Identity Force here has 22 alerts. These two are not leaks. These are just telling me some information about my social security number and some information about, registered sex offenders in my area. The rest of these are indeed leaks on the dark web. And they're finding it across multiple email addresses, 1 hit with my phone number here, and LifeLock's just not finding that. So I find it a little disappointing that LifeLock's not so thorough in their monitoring of the dark web for my personal information, especially when that's the most important thing to me in choosing an identity theft protection service. So more in monitoring, at this tier, LifeLock does offer some credit monitoring. They offer 1 bureau credit scores, 1 bureau credit reports, which I think is great. Identity Force does not offer that at this tier. You do have to upgrade for that. They don't offer 3 bureau though, which other identity theft protection services like Aura do. That's a nice feature to have for sure. And LifeLock definitely takes the win there. And both of these services do offer transaction monitoring. So basically how that works is you can link financial accounts, basically, credit cards, bank accounts, and you can set transaction thresholds so that, if there are any large transactions that come through that you weren't expecting, you'll get a notification right away and you can jump on that and make sure that if it's fraudulent, you can reverse that as quickly as possible. Both of these companies do also monitor the public web for your information. The biggest difference here is that LifeLock just tells you about the occurrences and then gives you links to resolve them yourself, or tells you that, if you pay them an extra, I think it's $50, they'll go ahead and take care of it for you. Whereas IdentityForce, like a lot of the other brands, just goes ahead and submits opt-out requests on your behalf. What I don't like about IdentityForce is they don't really give you all that much information on sort of what they've done, what they've found in terms of your information on the public web. And then when it comes to threat resolution, both of these companies do offer up to $1 million in identity theft protection insurance. And I think IdentityForce, has a little bit more to offer with lost wallet insurance as well. The huge difference here is that I've called a lot of these identity theft protection services for different reasons, inquiring about dark web alerts, inquiring about phishing attempts that I've experienced. And I've called LifeLock a number of times, unfortunately, because their service is really, really terrible. Nothing against the people there. They're just doing their job, but it's clearly a call center. They clearly are reading off scripts. They don't really understand really, the problems that you're going through at all. They don't really give you the sense that they have your back, that they're there to help you out when things go wrong. With IdentityForce, you're definitely speaking with an American agent. They sort of understand you as a customer. They understand what it's like to be in the unfortunate situations that arise when you are a customer of an identity theft protection service. They really make you feel like they're there to help you resolve whatever issue may be. They pick up the phone right away, whereas LifeLock really kind of doesn't. And there's just a huge disparity here in terms of the level of support you're getting with IdentityForce versus the level of support you're getting with LifeLock. And I would say IdentityForce isn't really a standout. They're like most of the identity theft protection services have pretty good support. LifeLock is, on the other hand, definitely a standout, and unfortunately not a standout in a positive light. So last but not least, let's talk about how much these identity theft protection services cost. And as I mentioned at the top of this video, the prices that you just see on their website are very almost identical when you compare LifeLock's Advantage plan to IdentityForce's Ultra Secure Individual plan. The main difference being that when LifeLock renews after that first year, the price does go up. That is not the case with IdentityForce. What I would say is that just at face value here, you are in theory getting better coverage with LifeLock. You're getting that one bureau credit monitoring and, credit reports and scores. So for the same price, you're technically getting a little bit more, but the monitoring that you're getting with LifeLock is way worse. As I mentioned earlier, IdentityForce definitely takes the cake in terms of monitoring. And when it comes to the threat resolution, IdentityForce absolutely blows LifeLock out of the water. So while you're kind of paying the same amount either way, and you're getting that credit monitoring, you're just not getting some other major components with LifeLock that you are getting with IdentityForce. And if you contrast that with what you do get with Aura, Aura gives you basically 3 bureau credit monitoring. They give you everything that IdentityForce offers and probably more. And the price right off the bat is cheaper at $15 per month billed monthly, $12 per month billed annually. And this is before you apply my discounts using my links in the description of the video down there. Once you apply that discount, Aura becomes far and away the best value. And also they deliver the most in their individual package. So I highly recommend you check them out. I do have an Aura review that I'll leave playing here as this one comes to a close. You can also check out my LifeLock review if you're interested in learning more about LifeLock. And I've yet to do an IdentityForce review, but if I do, it'll be published right here on this channel. So keep an eye out.